call on, yeah. We'll have a home all summer long. We spent grooving in the sand. Everybody kept on playing Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Well, snow drifts by my window, north wind blowing like thunder. Our love's burning like fire, and she's here by me, yeah. She's here with me. Let tomorrow be.
It doesn't matter who chooses the topic. He just wants to talk. Call 621 WSKW. John James on Legacy 1160.
Oh, that must be it. No WSKW there? Guess not. All right. Hi, how are you? 9:17 right now. It's 17 past 9 o'clock. Monday, all day. What a weekend. Whew. I had fun. I'm not going to lie to you. I had fun, but it was an experience. It was an adventure, that's for sure. Welcome to the show, by the way. Thank you for checking in. Hey, everybody. Text, Facebook. We're live. I will tell you something. I told Mike this just before I came on the air. Legacy1160.com. We are not video streaming there this morning. YouTube apparently found it necessary to shut down the YouTube channel. The American Women Who Bear Arms YouTube channel. And I'm not certain why. They say it's something, what was it? Impersonation. For impersonation. I'd never seen that before. You know, I don't know the exact, I can't remember the exact wording of why they said they had shut down our channel. Supposedly it's only for a week. I have submitted a, what do they call it? An argument or whatever they call it. But right now we are not able to broadcast live. Although, wait a minute, it says live now. Is that a fact? Well, it is. It's live. Okay, so what? For some reason, Mike didn't get on. Oh, okay, we're on now, so I will. Well, I don't know. This morning, I went to put it on Legacy1160.com, and I got this evil message that said something about impersonation. It went through all these different things, impersonating, some. I can't remember what. Stupid. What, did I do a really good Richard Nixon? My fellow Americans, I'm not a crook. Now they're going to knock me off. Maybe it was for poor impersonations. That had to have been what it was. Poor impersonations. All right, so we'll get it up there. It will be at Legacy 1160. Maybe they got at it early and said, oh, well, geez, he's right. There's no reason we shut him down there. We'll put him back. I can't imagine YouTube doing that for a conservative show, but maybe. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt this one time, and we'll see what happens tomorrow after this show, see if we're still there. Maybe they just don't like Mike. We're back, Mike. That's good. I'm not going to no, you stay there. I know you got a sore foot. We're back. YouTube put us back. Yeah, they put us back. We're there now. I don't get it. It's good, but I don't know. It makes no sense to me. It's 9:19 right now on Legacy 1160 WSKW, and we'll start our day the way we start every day, we will take a look back in history, and I will get the video posted. So if you're listening on the radio right now and don't have Facebook, you will be able to watch the show at legacy1160.com/video, or just click on the video link, and that will take you right to it. How long it stays there, that's an unknown, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's find out what happened on this day, August 24th in years past. Here is the Associated Press.
August 24th, 79 AD. Catastrophe strikes as the long-dormant Mount Vesuvius erupts east of Naples in what's now Italy. Volcanic ash buries the Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum, killing an estimated 20,000 people. 1992. Hurricane Andrew smashes into Florida, causing record damage for that time. 55 deaths in Florida, Louisiana, and the Bahamas are blamed on the storm. 1814. British troops invade Washington during the War of 1812. They burn the White House and the U.S. Capitol, forcing President James Madison to flee the city. 1932. Amelia Earhart begins a journey that makes her the first woman to fly solo nonstop from coast to coast. The aviator takes off from Newark, New Jersey, and lands in Los Angeles 19 hours later. 2006. Astronomers remove Pluto from the solar system's list of planets, reclassifying it as a dwarf planet. And 1989. Baseball's all-time hits leader, Pete Rose, is banned from the game for life. The move follows allegations that he bet on games while manager of the Cincinnati Reds. Years later, Rose finally admits his gambling while pressing for his ban to be lifted.
I'm interested in getting back down on the field and teaching the game of baseball, because I don't think baseball is being played the right way today.
Today in history, August 24th. Sandy Kozel, The Associated Press.
I first used fiber.
Voices in my head. Hi, how are you? 922 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. I'm John James, and boy, oh boy, is there a lot to get to today. Woo! When I came home yesterday afternoon and got right to work preparing for the show, and I was just amazed. I couldn't get it all done. I couldn't get done everything I wanted to include in the show, but there wouldn't have been time anyway, so I got the most important stuff, and there's a lot of it. Now, I want to start out because I made a promise, and this really took off on Facebook. My question was about the minimum wage. And the question went like this. And it starts, serious question, answers discussed tomorrow on Legacy 1160 right here. Should minimum wage be $15 an hour? Why or why not? Now, I thought that was, was a very timely question, because that's one of the things Joe Biden as president says he would want to do. $15 an hour minimum wage at the federal level, which means the minimum anybody could pay in any state would be $15 an hour. And the responses, I was really surprised. There were like 71 responses. I didn't expect that. So I can't go through all of them, but I'm going to go through some of them. Deb says nonprofits are having a hard enough time paying the current wage. So raising will get a lot of nonprofits that do well. We'll get rid of a lot of nonprofits that do well. And I assume she meant by that do good things for people. And there are plenty of them out there that do great things. Jay says maybe some will close, but doubtful. Most nonprofits have a cash flow. Okay, so I'm not. Sometimes people text on their phones, and the verbiage doesn't really play that well. Christina says, yes, people deserve a living wage. I feel education-driven and experience-requiring jobs should be adjusted up as well. The dollar doesn't spread like it used to when our parents and grandparents were young. But that said, Christina, all due respect, When our parents and grandparents were young, I remember my mother working 40 hours a week for the VA Togus as a doctor's secretary. Her annual wage as an experienced, schooled secretary, and that's what they called them back then, was well under $10,000 a year. This is back in the 70s. So, and my dad, I don't know what his wage was, but it wasn't above $10,000. I know that. So I'm just saying, if you want to make comparisons, there is a comparison there, but wages met the times, and the wages have increased over time to meet our times to a certain extent. Ryan says, in a few years, you're just going to want to go up to $20 because the cost of living will go up. I love how people seem to think businesses are just going to accept the higher labor expense and that everything people spend money on will remain the same as it costs now. Linda says, no, people should have good work ethic and earn their way up like the rest of us. And that's the school I come from. Mark says, no way. It would destroy small business. I had a summer ice cream shop for a decade, and almost all of our employees were high school students at their very first job. We always paid them a little over minimum wage so they could, and they could keep their tips. By law, I had to only pay them what amounted to peanuts, but they deserved much more than waitress wages without tips. There needs to be an entry-level wage and to be paid a fair amount once you enter the workforce after leaving home. That's my opinion. Norm says, well said, Mark. He agrees with what Mark said. We'll do a few more of these here. I think these are very telling. Nikia says, it's all a catch-22. One hand, I say yes, because the cost of living keeps going higher. At the same rate, it's unfair for others already making that rate to get paid the same. And none of these answers are wrong, by the way. I'm not going to demonize anybody for their answers. Rita says, no, people with degrees and special certifications only start out at that in a lot of places. True. That is true. $15 for a lot of people just coming out of some kind of a program with a certificate or a degree. I mean, that's okay starting pay. And of course, you go up from there. But still, Tim says, there's a thought I have always wondered. One, if you pay minimum wages and servers can make up the difference in tips, they would be more inclined to do a better job. If you take away tips and pay a flat hourly wage, would they try as hard? Either way, the customer is paying the costs. Aaron says, I'd say Mike Violet is worth at least $12.50 an hour. $15 might be pushing it. To which Mike answers, Aaron, as the Howie Carr Show says, I did not come here to be made sport of. Amen. Carla says, I think it depends on the line of work. People flipping burgers shouldn't get paid more than me or any other healthcare worker. But on the other hand, wages go up, so doesn't everything else. We are doomed for sure. Well, that's sort of a negative way to look at it, but when you think about it, that may not be all that far from the truth. Now, Tracy takes the other side, says yes, because the prices for housing, food, insurance, etc. are out of control. Look at it this way. When I started working as a teenager and into my 20s, I made $5 per hour back then. But back then, my rent was only $400 a month, my car payment $150, my car insurance $50, and the cost for health insurance was very low through my employer. Now you can't find an apartment lower than $900. She lives in South Florida. And the prices for food, medication, car insurance, and all that has skyrocketed. So, I hate to coin an old Bill Clinton phrase, but, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Diana says, minimum wage is meant to be an entry-level pay. This will cripple small business. In my opinion, if you make a decent wage, you need to work for it. This being said, I don't believe that you should have to have a college degree to make a livable wage, and on-the-job training should be brought back. And it is. In a lot of places you can go to. I mean, there are some things you can't be a brain surgeon necessarily, or a psychologist, or, a professional skill you would have to have some schooling for. But there is they had an apprentice program at BIW. I don't know if that still exists. I've never worked for BIW. But there are places that do offer, learn as you go. That's how I learned this business. That's how I learned radio. I get in entry level, and people still do. People still get in entry level, and my son did. My son, well, he rode your coattails. My son had he was gifted. I mean, he's got a talent from, as Rush Limbaugh would say, a talent on loan from God. And he worked hard to get where he is. And one more here. Stephanie says, I do not believe that a 15 or 16-year-old kid working 10 hours a week for side money needs to make $15 an hour. It's too much. All right. So there's, as you can hear, there are people, and you can read the comments on my page. It's very interesting, very telling, the different mindsets. Most of them say that I read say, no, minimum wage should not be $15 an hour. And again, this is one of the things Joe Biden has made a hallmark of his campaign. And I think he's been pushed that way by the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who she is very loud and very pushy with it. It's got to be $15 an hour. You need to be able to live. Okay, here's where I come down, and most of the business people I know have come down, and other people who I've talked with across the country come down on this. Think about the ramifications. This is what you have to do. Your gut instinct, especially if you're making less than $15 an hour, and I get that. I understand that. Your gut instinct is to say, yeah, $15 an hour should be the minimum wage. But think about what that does. That de-incentivizes people from working harder, especially those who are already making $15 an hour, and they may be the highest paid person in that small business. And suddenly, an 18-year-old or 16 or 17-year-old comes in, and they're making what you, who have been working for 3 or 4 years for this business, are making. Are they not de-incentivized from trying harder? Because they're older and they've been working 3 or 4 years. And now you've got a guy that just came in off the street who has to be paid the same that you're making. Well, then the boss should give that guy a raise, the guy who's been working 3 or 4 years. Well, what if the business can't afford it? So, and here are the options. Here's the options. And this is the sad truth. This is just economics 101. Things are going to happen. There is cause and effect to everything. People only think of the end, the $15 an hour. They don't think of the means to get there. One scenario, and this has happened. This happened in California, which arguably should be a more affluent state, although with the taxes they have, I hardly think so. But businesses have gone under because they couldn't afford to pay the $12 an hour minimum wage there. So then what happens? Then you've got the guy who was, he was struggling along, maybe making $10 an hour, struggling along, but he was making something, and suddenly the business goes under. Now he's making $0. Or prices go up. necessarily. Who does that hurt? Who does that hurt when the prices go up? It hurts poorer people. So if you're for the $15 minimum wage, what you're saying is, I want $15 an hour. You know, the poorer people will have to suck it up, or they just aren't going to be able to get the stuff they need. And that stuff could be food. You've got a small market in a small town. That's all they've got is a small little grocery market. Then they're going to have to up their prices in a small town. And the people in that small town who are already paying exorbitant prices because the prices are higher in little stores are going to be paying an even higher price. So the business owner can pay the $15 an hour minimum wage. So there are two scenarios: out of business and prices go up, and it hurts the little guy. And the third scenario, and probably the most likely, hours are cut way back, and people looking for their first job can't get it. Now you're taking away incentive to teach people as they go. Now you are de-incentivizing any kind of apprentice program, because not only do you have an unskilled laborer making $15 an hour, what your skilled laborers have to be paid or are being paid, but now you have to take some of your skilled laborers away from their job to help train the unskilled laborer who is making $15 an hour. So those are the and I'm sure there's a lot more to it. And what Mark said and what Norm echoed, and Mark owned an ice cream shop. Norm owned a very successful restaurant. And if you increase the wages for servers, and that's what's happening, and we've seen it, prices go up. I've seen signs on doors, prices are going up because business is slow and because we have to pay our employees. And they have a baseline minimum wage now for workers. So what does that do? People eat out less and they leave smaller tips. And what does that do? That decentivizes the servers from working harder for their tips. Maybe they're more irritable. Maybe they're less friendly. Maybe they don't come to your table as much. Everyone is going to suffer. I have always been of the mindset, and this is old-fashioned, I realize, but this is the way I was brought up. And this is the way I still think today. You go to work and you get paid, and I've gotten paid peanuts at some of the radio jobs I've been at. But I've still worked like I'm worth $1,000 a week, even though I was making $350 a week. I worked like I would if I were making $1,000 a week. I overworked. But you know what? Eventually you get there. You get there. You work hard for the company. You make the company better. The company makes more money. There is reward for hard work. Then if you get a job offer from somebody else, whoop, where does your income go then? Pay should be based on work ethic. Should there be a bare minimum wage? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it shouldn't be $15 an hour, in my humble opinion, nor should it be $12. Like it is in the state of Maine. Now, when I come back, I'm going to go over some of the minimum wages in states right now as they stand. It's very telling. You'll want to be around to hear this. It's 9:39 right now. Got to take a break. We're quite late on this. I'm John James.
WSKW, Legacy 1160.
At Rod Cycle and RV, we know these are uncertain times. Everywhere we turn, we hear about the phrase, the new normal. But how about instead of a new normal, we go back to simpler times? Let's put our devices down and get into nature. Share a family dinner on the picnic table, laugh together around the campfire, or go on a hike. At Rod Cyclone RV, we'd love to help you find the perfect camper for your needs. No pressure, no gimmicks, just a quality camper at a good price. Find us online at rodcyclonerv.com or stop in Route 201 in Madison. Rod Cyclone RV, not the biggest, but always trying to be the best.
Maine Voter Information Hotline, can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about those ads running for Susan Collins, you know, the ones attacking Sarah Gideon.
Yes, ma'am. We've been getting a lot of calls about those.
Huh. Well, are they true? Like what they say about Sarah Gideon and taxes?
Well, it says here newspapers have been speaking out about those. The Portland Press-Herald said the ads were largely out of context, and the Bangor Daily News said the ad misleads on Gideon's record of paying taxes.
Interesting. But is it true that Gideon raised taxes in Augusta?
No, ma'am. Says here Sarah Gideon helped lower taxes for the middle class,
Oh.
including sponsoring the first direct property tax relief bill to pass in many years.
I told Bert I remembered that. I should get him to call you.
I'll leave that to you, ma'am. We are pretty busy these days.
I can only imagine. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Sarah Gideon, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sarah Gideon from Maine.
I want to tell you about all of the incredible items you can find at Townline Antiques, but there's no substitute for seeing them in person and reliving those wonderful memories for yourself. Now's the perfect time to shop through their great selection of furniture, artwork, classic electronics, sports memorabilia, jewelry, books, glassware, home decor, and so much more. Take home something to decorate a room with style, add to your collection, or share wonderful memories of your past with family and friends. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassaboro Town Line.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center. If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go, take it to Moody's. You wanna get on with your life, get on with the show, take it to Moody's. Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers. M-O-O-D-Y. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first. Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
Your pep rally for freedom is back. Powered by the Gun Shop in Augusta on Coney Circle. Now, here's John James.
Good morning. 9:43 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Talking about minimum wage and a $15 an hour minimum wage. Which, the way I understand it now, is this: if this became federal law, as Joe Biden and AOC and Bernie Sanders and others would like to see happen, the way I understand it now, and I may be wrong, school me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to say I'm right on this. I've never been an employer. I've always been either I've worked for somebody or I've been self-employed. But I've never employed anybody on a regular basis. But the federal guidelines, I don't think have to be adhered to now by the states. But it seems to me that this is what Joe Biden and the like are pushing for. And again, I do not know for certain. So I don't want to say, I don't want to tell tales out of school here. I'm going to tell you if I don't completely get something. But I will tell you, actual minimum wage is zero. Wages are based on value of work, efforts, and smarts. Consider that if Wilson had not taken U.S. off gold standard, friggin' Federal Reserve did not exist, bread would be $1 a loaf. Thank you, Mikkel. Dollar used to be worth $1. Now the same dollar is only worth 3 cents. This is all evidence that our schools have stopped teaching economics. People have no clue the value of money and the relevance of old money versus new. They have no gauge. You're right. They have nothing except the stories of their parents who walked uphill both ways to school barefooted in the wintertime and earned 10 cents a day. My dad did. He earned 10 cents a day on the farm when he was a kid. And you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that today. Who would? I wouldn't, unless I really like to milk cows. Even the working elections down here, you only make about $8.25 an hour. Even working the election, okay, in Miami, I assume this is South Florida, yep. You only make about $8.25 an hour, so for about 20 hours worth of work. My friend in South Florida worked the polls recently at the primary elections down there. Paul, thank you for that. Okay, here are some of the minimum wages now in various states. Alabama has no minimum wage. So I guess all bets are off as to what you pay somebody who's starting work. Now, presumably, and correct me if I'm wrong, this would all change under a Biden, AOC, Sanders, whoever would be in control, Kamala Harris edict. There would be a federal guideline, and the federal government, by the way, should not. First of all, think about this. The federal government should have no say in setting a minimum wage because states' economies are completely different. So Alaska, you've got $10.19. This is current. These are current rates for 2020. Arizona, $12 an hour. Arkansas, $10 an hour. California, now up to $13 an hour. Be up to $14 next year and $15 in 2022. Connecticut, $11 an hour. See, I mean, some of these states with more affluent populations, bigger metro areas, pay less than Maine. Delaware, $9.25 an hour. Washington, D.C., $14 an hour. Florida, $8.56, which I think that's pretty close to what you said. Maybe it's changed a little bit, Paul. Georgia, $5.15 an hour, minimum wage. Hawaii, $10.10 an hour. Idaho, $7.25 an hour. $7.25 an hour, in fact, for Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky. Louisiana has none. Maine is $12 an hour, while Maryland is $11 an hour. Massachusetts is only $12.75 an hour. 75 cents more than Maine. Michigan, $9.65. So you see, it's all over the board. Now, can you imagine if the federal government mandated that states pay a minimum of $15 an hour? A living wage, I get that. A living wage is important. There are safety nets for people trying to live and not quite making ends meet. There are second jobs. And I know that's not very sexy, is it? There's not much sex appeal to having to work two jobs. But when you're starting out and you want some of the, you want to eat, you want to have a place to live, and maybe you want to have a little spare change to do some things with, sometimes it takes added work. Hey, I've done it. I'm not talking out of school. I've done it. I worked at a music store and a radio station and a cleaning company at the same time when I was growing up because I wanted to make some cash, and I did. And then once I got my feet under me and decided I would work hard because I wanted to make more money, that's when everything started to change. And that's the way the world used to work. You are rewarded for the job you do. If you're not making enough money, you've got two choices. You work harder and make more money, or you leave and find something else. And always remember this. Somebody told me this one time, and this is proven to be true. It's always easier to find a job when you've got a job. So don't quit your job because you're mad at your employer and go out, I'm quitting, you suck. First of all, you've got no reference there now. You've got no reference whatsoever. And second of all, you're going to have a hell of a time finding it. If you're unemployed, you don't look like you're employable. How long you been looking for work? Well, I just quit my job yesterday. Why? Because the boss was a jerk. Oh, really? Okay, leave your resume here. I'll call you back. Yeah, right. Not going to happen. And oftentimes when you find another job, this has happened to me also, when you find another job, somebody offers you a job, and you tell the boss, I hate to leave, but, I got offered a job and they're going to pay me this much, then you might find your boss finds the extra money to keep you because you've done good for them. It's work and reward. Now, while I don't think anybody should be paid substandard wages, sub-minimum wages, because you've got somebody who's a miser, and you can in Maine. I mean, it's $12 an hour minimum wage in Maine legally. So, I mean, you can get by on $12 an hour. And again, if you've got 3 kids and you're a single parent, then there is help available. There are safety nets, which if you're working hard and you've got a family to raise, trust me, nobody else minds you having to have some slack picked up. I've never had to do it, but if I did, I first of all, I'd be ashamed. My dad would never take anything. He wouldn't even take, this is how my dad was. So he was, this in my opinion was to a fault. He was in the United States Marines for, I don't know, he was in 5 years, I think. And he was, luckily for him, he was in between wars. There was no war going on. He was stateside. So because my dad wasn't in combat, he trained for combat, he trained for everything. But because he wasn't actually in combat, he went through his entire life, almost until he passed, refusing to take VA benefits. We had a VA 5 miles. Togus was 5 miles from where we lived. My mother worked there. My dad was a veteran. He would not take the benefits until my wife got involved, and we went out and we all but twisted his arm to have him take the benefits, and he passed away in what is a wonderful hospice unit there at the VA Togus Springs, I think it's called. But that's how my dad was. He didn't want to take anything. Sometimes you need to. Sometimes you should. And we're okay with that. There really is no shame. There should be no shame in that. But if you're not going to give it a try, if you're not going to try to do better and improve yourself and earn the money you want to make, then, sorry, you should start out with a minimum wage. Lower, I think, than $15 an hour. That is going to cause prices to go up and cause some businesses to go out of business and probably get hours of other employees cut. There's a lot that goes into it. There are a lot of different scenarios that play out. Maybe all 3 happen. Maybe hours get cut, people get cut, maybe the business raises prices. Then people who come in and usually patronize the business, maybe they're a poorer class of people. Now they can't afford your products, so your business goes down and you end up going out of business. Cause and effect. Don't just look at the I deserve $15 an hour because it's a living wage. It's going to cause a lot more people to not be able to live. And some people I know will say, well, I can make more money off the system anyway. That is shameful. That is where, and believe me, there are plenty of people in this world, and I'm not saying there are a ton of them. I'm not saying it's a majority, but I'm saying there are a lot of people in the world who have no shame. And sadly, they are of the victim mentality, and they are celebrated by today's society. Sad, but very, very true. Deny it all you want, but that is the truth of the matter. It's 9:54. Got to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm John James.
Legacy 1160, WSKW.
Don't wait any longer to earn your spot because there's $1,000 in cash and statewide bragging rights on the line in Legacy 1160 WSKW's first ever Cornhole Classic. We're holding qualifying rounds all over Central Maine, and 4 teams from each stop will make the finals, culminating with the championships on September 26th at Ray Haskell Ford Lincoln. Our next qualifying stop is at Trailside Performance on Saturday, August 29th. Both players can sign up in person from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. or visit legacy1160.com/cornhole to register in advance. The games will start shortly after 10 a.m. at Trailside Performance, 797 Augusta Road in Winslow. Now, before you head over, take a minute to check out all the details on contest rules, locations, and more by going to legacy1160.com/cornhole. It's Legacy 1160 WSKW's Cornhole Classic, brought to you by Connected Credit Union, Majors Furniture and Appliance, Damon's Beverage, Trailside Performance, Manchester Motors, H.T. Winters, and Ray Haskell Ford Lincoln.
Legacy 1160, WSKW. Playing original hits like this.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center. If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go, take it to Moody's. You want to get on with your life, get on with the show, take it to Moody's. Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers. MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first. Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
This pandemic threatens the very livelihoods of many Mainers. Senator Susan Collins co-authored the Paycheck Protection Program, saving hundreds of thousands of Maine jobs. Cindy Robbins owns a resort in Poland Spring.
The PPP program saved jobs of my cooks, my general manager, my reservationist, our waitresses, our boat boy. Susan Collins' program got us through a very tough time.
Now, as co-sponsor of S4321, Senator Collins is working to expand small business federal relief and save even more jobs. Stacey Morrison runs a construction company in Augusta.
I'm confident that if my business needs more help, Senator Susan Collins will be there for us.
Call Senator Collins at 207-780-3575. Urge her to pass S4321, the Continuing Small Business Recovery and Paycheck Protection Program Act. Provide more small business relief. Keep fighting for Maine jobs. Paid for by One Nation. www.onenationamerica.org.
Good morning. Couple before 10 o'clock right now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. So anyway, there's my feelings, and and I'm echoing. I was schooled by business people who understand the people who employ the people, many of whom would like $15 an hour. And that's why I say I get that. Who wouldn't want more money? I mean, that's a given. And most people would work hard for that $15 an hour. But there is a certain segment of people who would say, yeah, I get to sit around all day playing with my phone, updating Facebook, going on Twitter, and they're going to give me $15 an hour. Booyah! And the guy working his butt off is making the same. Not fair. Not fair. Cause and effect. Businesses will go under. Prices will go up. Jobs will be cut. Hours will be cut. There's cause and effect to everything. The $15 an hour sounds good until you look a little deeper. Back after the news, I'm John James.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Inez de la Cuetera. The Democrats put on their show last week. It's the Republicans' turn this week. ABC's Karen Travers has the details.
President Trump travels to North Carolina today as Republicans in Charlotte officially nominate him as their candidate for president. Mr. Trump will visit an organization working with farmers to get food to Americans in need, and he'll deliver remarks on the Farmers to Families Food Box program, a federally sponsored effort. Mr. Trump will also make a quick stop in South Carolina.
The president will be part of the RNC programming every night and will deliver his acceptance speech from the White House. There were protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin overnight following the police-involved shooting of a black man that was caught on video. The twin tropical storms Marco and Laura are making their way through the Gulf. Those along the Texas and Louisiana coastlines are getting ready. In California, there are at least 500 wildfires burning across the state. 14,000 firefighters from 5 different states are trying to help out. This is ABC News. Protesters in Belarus saying the re-election of the president was rigged, not backing down.
Belarus's capital, Minsk, is quiet now, a day after colossal peaceful protests flooded the city again. Incredible scenes in what's known as Europe's last dictatorship as they marched demanding President Alexander Lukashenko step down, despite a week of threats from authorities. Lukashenko, though, was defiant, emerging in front of cameras on Sunday, brandishing an assault rifle. A real sense the protests are not fading. Patrick Reevell, ABC News, Minsk.
German officials now say a leading critic of Russia's president is under guard and in critical but stable condition in a Berlin hospital. There are suspicions that Alexei Navalny was poisoned. Doctors in Russia, where he was initially treated, say there were no signs of poison. For the first time since coronavirus shutdowns in March, theaters are reporting weekend box office sales. The new thriller Unhinged leading the way, earning $4 million. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC News.
O'Reilly Auto Parts can help make your auto maintenance easier. So when your car isn't stopping like it used to, our professional parts people will help you find the brake parts and supplies to do the job right the first time. Right now, get 15% off a set of brake test pads and 2 rotors, plus O'Reilly Brake Cleaner, 2 for $5. Stop by or visit O'ReillyAuto.com today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Most people know that Mr. Clean Magic Eraser removes crayon and scuff marks from walls, but did you know it even cleans tough kitchen and bathroom messes that are sometimes tough to tackle? Just wet, squeeze, and erase gray soap scum on your bathtub. Erase cloudy hard water spots in your shower. Erase burnt-on stovetop messes. So for all your tough kitchen and bathroom messes, try Mr. Clean Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Welcome back to Freedom's Pep Rally. I'm John James, and this is Legacy 1160 WSKW, Maine's Heritage Station. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. If you'd share the video, that would be fantastic. And we are streaming, as far as I know. We are at legacy1160.com with our video stream. Of course, the audio stream is there 24/7, brought to you by the Harry J. Smith Company on Sanger Avenue in Waterville. And we'll get right back to it here. By the way, I have posted the minimum wage for all 50 states and territories on the Facebook page, Legacy 1160 Facebook page, and also at my personal Facebook page. So you can take a look at what's going on nationwide. As Maine is sitting now at $12 an hour minimum wage, see what other states are doing. Few are doing more. Many are doing much less than $12 an hour minimum wage. Now, that obviously, that's not to say, okay, here's the caveat in this whole thing. That's not to say that if you find a job that you like and you're really good at, even if the minimum wage was, say, less than 12, say it was $10, whatever it was before it went up, say it was $10 an hour. If you find a job you like and you're really good at it and you work your butt off, you know what? You're probably going to end up making that if the business is large enough to sustain it. And that's the big if right there. That's huge. That's a huge if. If the business is big enough to sustain it, you're probably going to end up making $15 or more an hour. I mean, that's just truth. A lot of businesses already start at more. I think Walmart starts at more than $15 an hour. Most of the places I would expect, and again, I have not been in the job market looking for a job for a number of years, but I would suspect that the only people paying less than $15 an hour, and I may be wrong about this, are the smaller businesses who really can't afford it. So if the wage goes up to a level that, you know, they're going to either start to break even or lose money, then they're going to lay people off, or they're going to cut hours, or they're just going to cease to do business. I mean, nobody is in business. That's the thing. People think, oh, the business owner's evil. He's only paying me blah, blah, blah. First of all, the business is the owner's dream. It's the owner's goal to make a successful business. And therefore, he's put all the sweat, or she's put all the sweat equity into it, done all the work, paid all the fees. And trust me, there are a lot of fees. And there is a lot that goes into making a business. A lot. You probably, most of us wouldn't want to open a store. Are you kidding me? Open a restaurant? Forget about that. I wouldn't want to do that. And the workers, the owners, always on call. It's not like an 8 or 10 hour day for them. No, it's like how all business hours and after business hours, oftentimes 7 days a week. And do you think they want to do little more than break even? What is the incentive for them to go on? What is their incentive for them to give some young person a chance? You know, come on in. You know, we'll give you. You know, we'll start you out at $8 an hour. Well, you know, a kid in his teens, or even a young late teens, maybe early 20s, would be happy to get a job with some experience for $10 or $12 an hour. But if you're going to make it so the business owner can't make any money, I mean, what incentive do they have to hire somebody who they're going to have to teach? I mean, there's always cause effect, and I just want people to look at that. While I do get that people would love the $15 an hour minimum wage, and I do get that's what Joe Biden and AOC and all the rest of them are pushing for, because business owners are evil at heart. They're misers. All they want is money. Say the people who have never actually started and run a business, they are really quick to judge business owners by thinking they're all just miserly people. They want their own income. They want their own money. They don't care about their employees. So the government's got to step in, and they've got to care about the employees for them, even if it means them losing their businesses. And this is a horrible time to be a business person anyway, let alone with a $12 an hour minimum wage. Do you think that maybe one of the reasons so many businesses in Maine are going out of business? Do you think maybe it's because $12 an hour is actually a lot of money for starting pay compared to other states? Do you think maybe that has something to do with it in one of the highest tax and poorest states in the nation? Cause and effect. Look at the big picture. I look at the big picture. I get the desire to make bank. I get it. And if somebody says, I'm going to pay you $15 an hour or more, I'm not going to say no. Who would? But to force somebody to pay that, it's your choice. If the money's not enough, don't take the job. Don't take the job. This is nothing less than socialism. By government it's government mandated pay. And it is a form of socialism. Government should stay out. Out. Period. And that includes our own government. That includes Janet Mills. I see she isn't trying to keep her business afloat, right? Well, I guess Maine is her business. And if it is, she's not doing a very good job, in my humble opinion. 10:09 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. So, let's get into what's going on nationally here. The old Clinton double standard has been revealed. Yes, I'm talking about Bill and Hillary Clinton versus anybody on the right who is not Bill and Hillary Clinton. Something you're not hearing anything about right now, so you're hearing it here. If you're watching CBS, NBC, ABC, MSNBC, CNN, you're not going to hear this. But I'll tell you about it. Following the release of declassified documents recently, Lindsey Graham, who is the Senate Judiciary Chair, says he believes the FBI showed a double standard in its investigations into reports of foreign interference at the Hillary Clinton campaign and now President Trump campaign, leading up to the election in 2016, which, by the way, Hillary was bitching about it again this weekend. She's still not over it. Still not over the 2016 election. She was, oh my word, the woman, my tolerance level has been overflowing for 3 years with her. She just won't go away. Graham was on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo yesterday, and he ran through the timeline. Listen, this is all very interesting.
In April of 2015, Hillary makes an announcement, I'm running for president. It was pretty well known. In March of 2015, the FBI finds out about a plot by a foreign government to lobby her campaign and funnel millions of dollars into the Clinton campaign illegally. They open up an investigation. They want a FISA warrant against a Clinton operative who's connected to the foreign government. What happens? The FBI seventh floor says, we're not going to let you get a warrant until you defensively brief the Clinton campaign. In October of 2015, FBI personnel met with the Clinton campaign to tell her about the problem so she could fix it. They never issued the FISA warrant. That was the right way to do business. Forward to 2016, 4 counterintelligence investigations opened by the FBI against the Trump campaign. They never tell him about it so he can fix it. They give him a generic briefing about general threats you need to watch out for as a campaign. Not only did they not mention Flynn, Papadopoulos, Manafort, any of the people, they sent an FBI agent into the generic briefing to spy on Flynn and Trump to monitor their behavior when they gave them the general briefing, and did a 302 summary of the defensive briefing. They used it as a way to spy on Trump, and they informed Clinton about the problem she was facing so she could fix it. The ultimate double standard.
Wow. So Hillary Clinton was told, can't get the FISA warrant. Here's what's going on. Trump was never informed, and his campaign was spied on. We've known this for a while. But now that these documents are coming out, I mean, this is very timely, too. This is a good time for this to be happening. Will it matter to most people on the left how damning this is to Joe Biden, to Barack Obama, to Hillary Clinton? Will it matter? No, probably not. But some of the fence sitters, some who are, looking for the good and bad of both sides, I really don't see as much of a comparison, but that's just me. I think this could be a deal breaker for Biden. So, a foreign government wanted to get Hillary elected. What government was it? Bartiromo inquired.
I can't tell you that, but there was an effort by a foreign government to funnel money into her campaign. They picked it up in March. The FBI wanted a FISA warrant to follow the activity. The seventh floor, the leadership of the FBI said, no, you can't get a warrant until you defensively brief her. They did that in October. They gave her a chance to fix the problem. I assume she did. They never did that to Trump. They never told Trump, oh, by the way, you got a Carter Page problem. You got a Papadopoulos problem. As a matter of fact, not only did they not tell Trump, they used a generic briefing to spy on Trump. And the seventh floor comes into play again in 2017. The FBI field office wanted to close the Flynn investigation out. They wanted to drop General Flynn from Crossfire Hurricane because there was no there. The seventh floor, through Strzok, told them keep it open. So the seventh floor is insisting that Clinton get briefed before you can get a warrant in 2015. The seventh floor is insisting you keep a surveillance open on Flynn when the professionals wanted to close it. The seventh floor at the FBI was a political operation in the 2016 campaign, and people in that seventh floor need to be fired and or go to jail.
Boom. By the way, the seventh floor is FBI leadership. James Comey, Andrew McCabe, and the like. So, how about that? Trump was never briefed on this stuff. None of it. None of it. And Hillary's campaign was, and she was able to fix it, which is fine, is right. Double standard much? So there were 4 simultaneous investigations going on involving Trump, correct? Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, Page, Papadopoulos, Flynn, and let's just put it this way. There was 4. They never told Trump, we're looking at people on your campaign. You may have a problem. But remember this, they found a foreign government wanting to give Hillary Clinton millions of dollars. And they let her know about it, so that didn't happen. They never did anything to protect Trump. A counterintelligence investigation is supposed to protect the American interest against foreign influence. When it came to Trump, they didn't try to protect him. They tried to set him up for failure. So I hope some Democrat cares about this. If it can happen to a Republican, why can't it happen to a Democrat?
It could. Hey, I believe there are no real true friends in politics, only enemies who smile. Could happen on either side. In this case, it happened to Donald Trump. In order to make sure he isn't elected. Crossfire Hurricane kept open to get Flynn. Who kept it open? Peter Strzok. He was the lover of Lisa Page. They were the lovers who said, we're going to get Donald Trump's not going to get elected. And we've got a backup plan. Basically said, we've got a backup plan. Don't worry, he won't get elected. This was all going on at the highest levels of the DOJ. Wow. Most people in the Department of Justice are good people, not demonizing the whole organization. But when you have a leadership that is as corrupt as this, you're basically taking 328 million people and you're saying, screw what the majority of them want. We're going to have our way. A handful of people, maybe more at the top, including Obama and Biden, have decided they know what's best, that the vote, we don't need them to vote because we're going to make it come out the way we want. That's basically what they were saying, and that's what they thought would happen. Surprise. That's scary stuff, and that's why I say when you see people pushing for mail-in voting and you see it's a very partisan issue, and you hear even Dr. Fauci say, if you can go to the supermarket, you can go to the polls, take the safety precautions. And what are they calling it? They're calling it voter suppression. And by the way, there is a difference between absentee voting and vote by mail. And there is a possibility this could be rife with fraud, especially if there is ballot harvesting, which has proven to be problematic in the past. That's where political operatives go out and collect up all the ballots, wink, wink, and bring them back to the polling places. Now, I think I don't know, I haven't read enough about it. I think I like what Maine might do, the drive-up voting, where they give you your ballot and you vote. I don't know. Is that problematic, or I don't think it is. I mean, that's not much different than actually going into the polls, right? I don't know. Don't know how I feel about that. I don't think that would be a bad thing. But I think there are enough red flags on mail-in voting, and it's the fact that it's a very partisan issue should be a red flag in and of itself. That, there are potential problems with this. By the way, it could be on either side. Could be on either side. But, and we've seen it. We have seen it in the past. And one of the most recent, North Carolina, there was a problem in, Colorado? They found like 200,000 ballots or something that hadn't been counted. I don't remember the exact story. Please don't quote me on that. This was more recent, as a matter of fact. 10:21 right now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. And some heads are going to explode when this movie comes out. It's a pro-Trump movie. You aren't going to be seeing it probably at a movie theater near you. There was a movie out that I wanted to see. It was a Dennis Prager movie, Unsafe Space, about how the college campuses are going to hell. They're circling and spiraling into a liberal hell where freedom of speech is not accepted unless it's left. And there's videos of this all over the internet. I mean, you can look up all kinds of Ben Shapiro, Deneen Borelli, Candace Owens. I mean, you can see the confrontations with these people when they go and try to speak at college campuses. I'm not just talking about protests are fine, but I mean blocking of doors, threats of violence, people curled up in the fetal position, crying. I think that was either at a Ben Shapiro, maybe it was a Ben Shapiro speech, but they didn't want him in there. They were yelling and screaming, and one girl said, "Call an ambulance for me," because she is emotionally triggered. I'm not making it up. You look and you'll find it. 1023 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. So anyway, a documentary about Donald Trump. It's going to be released later this year. Not sure exactly when. In stark contrast to the plethora of documentaries, movies, television shows, plays, cartoons, and so forth that are always hostile towards Trump, this documentary takes a different tack and exposes the plot to remove him. The plot that has been going on since the day he took the oath of office. Before that, actually. The name of the documentary is The Plot Against the President. That's pretty easy to remember. Now, in diametric opposition to the leftist media's conspiracy theories, this film turns the Russian collusion scenario on its head. I've got the audio from an extended trailer. Listen to this. Tell me if this isn't a movie you might like to see.
But you can make a whole movie on the Russiagate hoax. It's all documented.
There was an illusion being created using the most awesome tools and the greatest tricks that the American intelligence community had learned to use against our enemies. Now it was being deployed against the American people and our president.
This is the biggest political scandal in modern history, which makes Watergate look like a tiff.
The FBI director has no credibility.
The left used to not trust the FBI, and now they love them.
This can happen to General Michael T. Flynn. Imagine what they do to anybody who has a single strike against them.
35 Russian diplomats in the U.S. expelled. The prosecution of General Flynn wasn't a pursuit of criminal activity, it was a setup.
Flynn actually had details. So he was talking about going after people's budgets. They were terrified.
Media didn't start as neutral. Media hasn't been neutral all its life.
The two faces of Hillary Clinton are coming out. The fact through WikiLeaks that she says one thing and
Oh, no. They worked hand in glove with Comey to try to delegitimize Trump. They were not there to tell the truth.
A political dirty trick is being carried out by our intelligence community.
Honestly, none of us really know, sort of holistically, what to think about this dossier.
They went into Congress. They said, there's nothing here. Doesn't matter. We'll keep going with FISA. We'll keep going with the investigation. And more importantly, we will go on TV day in and day out and lie to the American people to their face. And nothing's going to happen to us.
The nation and all of our freedoms hang by a thread. And the military apparatus of this country is about to be handed over to scum who are beholden to scum. Russian scum.
We had not one person claim that they had or had seen evidence of Trump colluding with the Russians.
Devin Nunes was the hero in the forest. He was alone, he was mocked, he was attacked.
Devin Nunes was subject to such scorn for saying the conclusions that we brought forth in that report, which all proved to be true.
Russiagate was a false story.
To target their political opposition, to carry out their insurance policies.
I believe that this is a conspiracy.
These guys have perpetrated the greatest crime against the American people ever seen. It was a coup d'etat.
This is how sick and twisted these people are.
I recently confirmed that on numerous occasions, the intelligence community incidentally collected information about U.S. citizens involved in the Trump transition.
It was shocking to see some of the overclassification that was done to hide either corruption or abuse of authority and just to make sure certain agencies didn't look bad.
We have a peaceful transition of power process. That's not what happened. There were more meetings, there were more leaks, there were more attacks.
The thing that they were investigating the Trump campaign for is what they themselves were doing. Not just the Democratic Party and their operatives, but also the FBI.
If I were writing about the time frame that we lived in and that we're living in now, I would say it wasn't supposed to happen. They weren't supposed to know.
The entire time this was going on, they thought this was going to be what sunk the Donald Trump presidency. And they were just looking for the golden goose, and they still haven't found it because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. The thing they don't understand is Donald Trump has no reason to engage in what they love to accuse him of. He is president because he understands how America is supposed to work. They keep saying he is shredding the Constitution. Hello? Who is shredding the Constitution? That movie is going to be out later this year. Again, it's called Plot Against the President. And it probably isn't going to end up at a local theater. I know the Dennis Prager movie didn't. Which it should have. I will eventually watch it on one of the services. And this was out, by the way, before COVID. I know all the theaters, a lot of the theaters are still closed, but it never was scheduled to come to Maine anyway, because it was too triggering for many of our citizens, especially those in southern Maine. 10:28 right now, back with more. Got a Hollywood cat fight going on. It involves none other than Alyssa Milano, of course. Oh, do I love the comeback she got. Stick around, it's next.
AM 1160, WSKW.
Hi, my name is Tony Esposito from Rockland Ford, and we want to buy your car. An unexpected situation created by this pandemic is that there is a nationwide shortage of inventory. Now, what does this mean for you? This means that the vehicle you own has never been worth more. In some cases, your vehicle is worth retail book value. I have never seen anything like it. So if you need some extra cash or a lower payment, there has truly never been a better time to sell or trade your vehicle. If I was a consumer, I would sell high on my trade while buying low and cashing in on 0% interest and manufacturer's rebates. This is not a gimmick. This is real talk. Don't wait. Call us at 594-4466 today for a free purchase offer or visit us at rocklandford.com.
I want to tell you about the incredible items you can find at Townline Antiques, but there's no match for seeing them in person and reliving those wonderful memories for yourself. Now is the perfect time to shop through their great selection of furniture, artwork, classic electronics, sports memorabilia, jewelry, books, glassware, home decor, and so much more. Take home a little something to decorate a room with style, add to your collection, or share a wonderful memory of your past with friends and family. Townline Antiques open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
Hi, everyone. This is State Senator Brad Farron. As we continue to face new challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I want to remind you how important it is that we continue to fight against our state's opioid epidemic as well. For many people struggling with substance use disorders, increased stress, anxiety, and isolation has the potential to alter the course of their recovery. A simple step we can take to remain vigilant during this time is learning the warning signs of substance misuse so we can hopefully prevent a problem before it's too late. The RX Abuse Leadership Initiative of Maine, or RALLY, has tools available online so that we can all work to combat the opioid crisis from home. Visit rally-maine.org to take an interactive virtual tour that will teach you the hidden red flags of substance misuse so you might know what to look for if you think a loved one may be struggling. Again, that's rali-me.org. Thank you and stay safe.
Paid for by the RX Abuse Leadership Initiative.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
Your pep rally for freedom is back. Powered by the Gun Shop in Augusta on Coney Circle. Now, here's John James.
Hey, welcome back. John James here with you till noon today. 621-975-9207-441-6969, the text line. Reach out on Facebook, too. We're streaming live at Legacy 1160 Facebook page, the American Women Who Bear Arms, also at my page, and, of course, at Legacy1160.com. I assume, although I haven't checked recently, YouTube had shut us down briefly. I don't know why, but maybe they got my assertion that we are original, that we aren't imitate. We got cut for impersonation. Impersonation. Who on earth? I couldn't figure it out. So anyway, we'll see what happens. You can't control media. I mean, there are ways. We're not going to. I was watching a piece by the Savvy Truth, Savannah Lynn, last night, which I posted over at American Women Who Bear Arms. If you want to see her latest, you can see it there. And she said, and I love it. She called out Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. Said, you can shut me down, you can censor my page, but you can't silence me. That girl has fortitude. I love that. We'll get her back on the show again sometime in the not too distant future, I hope. Just a real bright light in this fight we seem to have going on. Let's see. Minimum wage. Somebody, I got a comment. I posted, by the way, on both the Legacy page and my page, I posted the state minimum wages for all the states. Maine's among the higher ones. Very few are above Maine. There are a couple, but most of them are below what Maine pays for a minimum wage. So in one of the poorest states with one of the highest tax burdens, this state forces companies to hire less employees, to cut hours. I mean, you can say what you want. You can demand a $15 an hour minimum wage, but you're not going to get hours that are going to make you enough money. Unless you work multiple jobs, I suppose you could do that. So, anyway, we got 10:35 right now. I want to get to this cat fight. This is good. Alyssa Milano got a heck of a lot more than she was looking for over the weekend. She started a Twitter thread listing all the things she claims the Democratic Party has done to make the world a better place. After Rose McGowan tore into the Democratic Party for being all talk and no walk, Milano responded with an exhaustive list of what she says are Democratic Party accomplishments that have made the world a better place. Now everybody's entitled to an opinion. Correct? Correct. Now, the thread mostly lists actions of progressive presidents like Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, John Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. Milano also credited the Democratic Party for winning World War II. It was Milano's first tweet in which she credited the Democratic Party with women's suffrage and the 19th Amendment that got McGowan all riled up. A thread of all the things the Democratic Party has done to make the world a better place. Milano tweeted, "Let's start here. 1920 19th Amendment, women's suffrage under the leadership of Democratic President Woodrow Wilson. The U.S. Constitution was amended to grant women the right to vote." And McGowan, well, here's what she tweeted. "What have the Democrats done to solve anything? Help the poor? No. Help the black and brown people? No. Stop police brutality? No. Help single mothers? No. Help children? No. You have achieved nothing. Nothing. Why did people vote Trump? Because of you, mother effers." Rose McGowan's words, not mine. First, she stated how Milano's claimed Democratic Party accomplishments was really only beneficial for white women. She tweeted, "Did you conveniently forget that only white women got the right to vote? They betrayed all others. To quote Marilyn Manson, I was not born with enough middle fingers." Then she explained why most white feminists, which Milano identifies as, are frauds. McGowan went on, "If I had been the leader of the suffragettes, I would have waited and fought for everyone's right to vote. They effed up, and you wonder why black women think white feminists are frauds. Most are," she said. Later, McGowan got personal, claiming Milano stole the hashtag #MeToo movement. She also called Milano an effing fraud and revealed that Milano was toxic to work with on a show they starred in together, Charmed. Ouch. Ooh, this is where it gets good. This is the kind of stuff you sort of become a voyeur, right? You're like, okay, all right, tell me more. Okay, here you go. You stole the hashtag #MeToo, a brilliant communication tool, not a movement, from Tirana. Now, forgive me for not knowing who Tirana is. You co-opted my movement, the Cultural Reset, for fame, jealous of me for outing my rapist. You made $250,000 per week on Charmed, McGowan said. You threw a fit in front of the crew, yelling, "They don't pay me enough to do this," expletive. Appalling behavior on the daily. I cried every time we got renewed because you made the set toxic. AF. Now, get off my coattails, you effing fraud. Rose McGowan to Alyssa Milano. Feminist or fraud? I don't know. I don't know Alyssa Milano, but I guess I would tend to think the latter. Would you? Well, CNN. Dismissive? What? Yes, they are very dismissive of the speakers at the Republican National Convention coming up this week, starting today. Dismissive of the inclusion of Nicholas Sandmann. Do you remember Nicholas Sandmann? He was the kid at the pro-life rally in Washington, D.C. from Covington Catholic School. Now it's coming back, right? Nicholas Sandmann and his fellow students who were there with MAGA hats walked over peacefully to see what was going on. There were Native Americans. There was one of them, at least one of them, beating drums, and I don't know, there were some other people there, I guess, yelling, and I don't know what all the groups were that were there. But I do know this one Indian, this one Native American, stood in front of Sandmann, who was surrounded by his fellow students, pounding the drum in his face. And Nicholas Sandmann stood there. And he didn't want to seem dismissive himself. He stood there with a look on his face. Let's say a look. I don't know what Nicholas Sandmann looks like. Maybe it's his. Maybe that's the way he typically looks when he's engaged in something. Maybe it's his resting bitch face. I don't know. Nobody knew him from Adam. When he stood there in front of the Native American protester who was beating a drum in his face. And the media, including CNN and MSNBC and all the others, including Savannah Guthrie on the Today Show, they had a field day. They melted down. How could a young kid stand there smirking at a Native American elder? They dragged this under 18-year-old Catholic pro-life kid wearing a MAGA hat over the coals. And why? Well, two reasons. Number one, he was pro-life. And number two, he had a MAGA hat on. Well, that's all you need to upset the media and destroy somebody's life, isn't it? So he actually has sued and won settlements, and the suits go on. He's got hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits against the media who tried to destroy him. And now, CNN, one of the payees of said settlements, is still dismissive of him. On Sunday, yesterday, right? Yes, today is Monday, yeah. Political commentator Errol Lewis was dismissive that Nicholas Sandmann is going to be included as a speaker at the Republican National Convention. And he went so far as to suggest that the media smearing of the Kentucky teen wasn't so bad. He portrayed the speech as part of an effort by Republicans to stoke the fires of grievance. How disingenuous, how dismissive, how idiotic and juvenile. Nobody ever brought up the fact that Nathan Phillips, the Native American elder, who said he served in Vietnam, never served in Vietnam. No. Nobody ever they didn't bring that out. No. That would be politically incorrect. But Nick Sandmann, the high school kid, pro-lifer, MAGA hat wearing snot-nosed boy, well, we'll drag him through the mud. They've paid, but they apparently haven't learned. As CNN co-host Christy Paul recalled some of the convention speakers, she ended up posing, what is the value? And I'm really not being flippant. I'm curious, what is the value of Nick Sandmann? He can't have any value. He's a Trump supporter. He thinks babies shouldn't be murdered. What value does he have? Fact is, she was being flippant. And you'll see the very same propagandist talking heads who were drooling over the prospect of Barack and Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris speaking at the DNC. You will see that now they are already painting a very grim picture of any and all of the people speaking at the RNC. I mean, if you don't believe that they are propaganda networks, then you aren't very perceptive, are you? Here is the little exchange on CNN as they cannot leave Nick Sandmann, the kid, alone.
We know that we can assume what some of the intentions are of some of the people that will speak, right? I mean, when you talk about Alice Johnson, who President Trump commuted her sentence, mostly speaking to criminal justice reform. When you've got the McCloskeys, most likely going to expect that there will be a Second Amendment conversation there. What is the value? And I'm really not being flippant. I'm curious, what is the value of Nick Sandmann?
Yeah. Well, look, Nick Sandmann, for those who don't remember, was involved in kind of a 1 or 2 day story, frankly, where he got into a confrontation with some protesters. There were accusations of racism. Further investigation suggested that it wasn't quite as bad as had been first portrayed and so forth. And then he sued news organizations for making him look bad. It touches on a lot of what the Trump base wants to hear about, that racism accusations are overblown, that the media is in on it, that people who are just kind of going about their business trying to be good Americans are being unfairly maligned.
Yes.
But these are all very small questions, Christy. That's the thing that is striking. We're going to be on the small screen because of the pandemic, and the fact that everybody has to watch this at home means that we're going to be on a small screen. And the president and the programming for this convention seems to be a series of these little kind of one-day stories that have taken on some life in the world of Trump supporters and Fox News viewers. And they want to sort of rehash all of those and kind of stoke the fires of grievance and pull together his base around these kind of.
Can you believe this guy? Can you believe this guy?
Accumulated over the last few years. The problem with that, of course, is that there are much, much bigger problems out there. There are much bigger issues than whether or not Nick Sandmann was treated fairly by the media, to say the least. And so, like I said, they've got a lot of work ahead of them if they think they're going to take people's minds off the major problems that are actually confronting us.
This is how they're talking about the RNC. Oh, you never heard anything but praise and fawning over the... Oh, Michelle Obama is going to speak in... Oh, Barack Obama, Kamala Harris. They're a little worried about Joe, to be honest with you. He did okay. How dismissive are both of them? Oh, these little one-day stories. There are much bigger things going on. Oh, these resonate well with the Trump people. Well, we've got a First and Second Amendment question here at issue on both these. You got a First Amendment. Nick Sandmann did nothing wrong. Did nothing wrong. This guy, it might not have been as bad as they thought it was. The kid did nothing wrong. He exercised his First Amendment right. And because he was wearing a MAGA hat and because you thought it was a sneer he had on his face, you called him racist. That's the First Amendment being tossed out the window for anybody on the right. While the left, with lying Nathan Phillips, is praised. Savannah Guthrie made me nauseous with the interviews. She gave Nathan Phillips a complete pass, and she hammered Nicholas Sandmann on the Today Show. And then you've got the McCloskeys. The McCloskeys who came out of their house with their guns to protect their beings and their property as a loud and violent mob, peaceful protesters. Remember, this is how they paint it. Peaceful protesters that ripped down a wrought iron gate in a gated community and came marching in, yelling. And the McCloskeys fired no shots. They came out with guns. And who is being demonized? Who is being minimalized? They are. CNN, Communist News Network. And they're partnering, by the way, with MSNBC. Did you know that? They're partnering. They are partners in hate. Now, we've long said that CNN, lowly rated, horribly rated CNN, is very left, but MSNBC is more dangerous because they are as, if not more, hateful and have as many racists on their channel as CNN does, and they have more viewers. That makes them more dangerous, in my opinion. But now, maybe if they get together, they can take their two small audiences and maybe touch the coattails of Fox News. Maybe. So CNN and MSNBC kind of formed a tag team last Friday. And this may be a sign of things to come. You watch, see if these two news channels, see if something isn't talked about insofar as a merger is concerned. I'm just saying, I don't know. I haven't heard this anywhere. I'm just saying. So last Friday, Rachel Maddow of MSNBC claimed she wasn't into cable news wars and then devoted 17 minutes of her show to promoting the hoax that has been fostered by Fox News bashing Humpty Dumpty, Brian Stelter of CNN. She's on there with Brian Stelter on her show. So there you have two very bizarre hosts, Trump-hating hosts, talking, and I'm surprised they didn't kiss, but I don't think Humpty Dumpty is Rachel's type. She lovingly read a long passage for more than 9 minutes, and then after an ad break, interviewed Stelter for 7.5 minutes. Here is a little clip from the Maddow Humpty Dumpty interview last Friday.
You detail a number of policy pronouncements by the president, actions by the president, wild accusations and provocations from the president that appear to have come directly from, in many cases, chyrons, the on-screen text put up by specific Fox programs. You describe them as sort of a shadow cable news government that appears to select policies for him knowingly. They may have been shocked at the beginning how much influence they had, but they know they have it now. They're using it knowingly while privately maintaining, many of your sources to you, that they believe the president is unwell, is mentally not there and not capable of holding down the job. That doesn't just feel dangerous. It feels like an incredibly salient political decision.
It's nothing close to journalism, and there are real journalists at Fox who are very uncomfortable with this, who are disturbed by the situation, but they don't have the power. The primetime stars have the power. The Fox and Friends people in the morning have the power. They are the ones talking to Trump, and they are the ones then turning around telling their friends that, in Hannity's words, Trump is a run-on sentence. In the words of an executive at Fox, he is not well. It's such a disconnect between the on-air rhetoric and the off-air reality. And that is what's propping up this presidency. It is hard to imagine the president at 40% approval were it not for these people on Fox who, I'm sorry, Rachel, I don't like to talk this way. They're lying about him every day. They are talking about a president that doesn't actually exist. Someone who stopped the virus when it was coming in from China. We all know that's not true. But these talking points are repeated over and over again in a form of propaganda we've never had in this country before.
Humpty Dumpty. Propaganda. Listen, who's talking about propaganda? Now, is there some discontent and disagreement at Fox News? I'm sure there probably is. I'm absolutely positive there probably is. But we've seen it rear its ugly head at CNN and MSNBC and NBC, the parent company. Never ceases to amaze me. The people who call out propaganda are, by the very definition, propaganda. And they sit there with a straight face and they say stuff. They say stuff about the president that isn't true. They say he's unfit for office, that he's got mental problems. I don't know if he does or doesn't. I really don't. But I think it's pretty clear to me that Joe Biden does. Pretty clear to everybody, Joe Biden does. That doesn't stop people from praising him as the next big thing, because frankly, he's all they've got. And they know he's an empty vessel. It's Kamala Harris and the left that will lead the country if he is elected. Back with more after the news. Stick around. I'm John James, and this is your pep rally for freedom.
Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Sales and service by a family who cares. Whittemore and Sons, Whittemore and Sons.
There are some things you can simply never depend on, like getting your office printer to work on the first try. Another paper jam? Come on. But know that you can always count on Whittemore & Sons in our line of Coyote tractors. Coyote tractors are machines made to work, whether it's mowing, tilling, digging, lifting, or hauling. Check out the full line of tough and versatile Coyote tractors, attachments, implements, and accessories at Whittemore & Sons, your Coyote tractor dealer, with dependable sales in service for over 50 years. Run ahead of the pack with a Coyote tractor from Whittemore & Sons on the Waterville Road in Skowhegan. Sales and service by a family who cares.
From work to fun, we'll help you get it done. Whittemore & Sons, outdoor power equipment.
Keep your focus on what's going on in the state and the country by tuning into my show, The Mike Violet Show, weekdays from 6 to 9 on Legacy 1160 WSKW. We discuss it all, the issues, the news, the facts, and the opinions with some of the most important newsmakers and guests in all of Maine. The Mike Violet Show, brought to you by Kennebec Electric and Lighting. Contact them for all your electric and lighting servicing, including expert installations, repairs, and more. 861-7028 or online at KennebecElectric.com.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your sideswipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first. Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Jim Ryan. Broken glass, graffiti, and damaged city vehicles left behind in downtown Kenosha, Wisconsin. Protests broke out after the shooting of a black man by police. ABC's Alex Perez is there.
The governor of Wisconsin saying that although we must offer empathy, equally important is our action. We will demand just that of elected officials in our state who have failed to recognize the racism in our state and our country for far too long.
The man who was shot is in serious condition. Organizers say they're planning another protest this afternoon. What had been Hurricane Marco has weakened to a tropical storm, but it's still expected to bring rain, wind, and heavy flooding to the Gulf Coast. After it leaves, Tropical Storm Laura is expected to show up on Wednesday, possibly as a Category 2 hurricane. The Republican National Convention kicks off today, partly in Charlotte, partly in Washington, D.C. Longtime Trump aide Kellyanne Conway will speak at the convention. Then she's resigning, saying she needs to spend more time with her children. This is ABC News. If you're having trouble logging on to a Zoom meeting for work or school, you're in good company. Zoom says it's fielding reports of outages across the country. It's trying to figure out the problem. In New Zealand, it's the first of 4 days of sentencings for the man who killed 51 people in attacks on a pair of mosques.
New details about the March 2019 attacks by Brenton Harrison Tarrant, Chief Prosecutor Barnaby Hawes.
The information he obtained from the internet included detailed mosque plans, mosque locations, and specific details such as prayer times and important days in the Islamic calendar to ascertain when the mosques would be at their busiest.
29-year-old gunman who's pleaded guilty could become the first person in New Zealand to be sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Tom Rivers, ABC News, The Foreign Desk.
A tortoise that escaped from its home in Ashland City, Tennessee more than 2 months ago has been found. The 150-pound animal made it less than a mile. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Now that we're getting back on the road, the stops we make seem more special than before. Stop to see a friend. Stop at your favorite store. Stop at the places you missed most. And to keep you going between those stops, there's Shell. Stop in to fill up with our best fuel ever. Save with the Fuel Rewards program. And to get snacks and essentials that can save you even more at the pump. That's just a few of the ways Shell helps you make the most of the stop you need to make. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
Whether you're going back to the classroom or back to e-learning, Walgreens is right around the corner with the last-minute essentials for your back-to-school list. Get smart deals on everything from snacks to school supplies. Like this week, select varieties of Wexford school supplies are only 79 cents. Stop by your local Walgreens today. Offer valid with card while supplies last. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See walgreens.com for details.
WSKW, Central Maine's Heritage Station.
Hey, that's us. Come running back down the hall. Yeah, I stepped away for a minute. You know that if you're watching on the video. I sort of limped my way back. I got to be careful. My ankle is sore. It's not too bad. And so what happened this weekend? Okay, here's what happened to me this weekend. I took Friday off. I went up to Eustis to be with Marianne and Evan, our almost 12-year-old grandson. Oh, no, he's not almost 12. He turned 11 in April. I guess that's close enough. So they're up there. They went up on Wednesday, and I went up on Friday. Before I went, I came down over my stair. We have new wooden stairs now, which are much more slippery than the carpeted stairs. And I thought I was on the last stair when I came down the stairs in the dark. because I still don't know how many. Now I do. I know how many stairs I have to go down now. 6 stairs to get to the next level. Well, I guess I went down 5. And when I got to the 5th, I stepped out as though I were stepping onto the floor, and the floor was another step down. So I did a header into the wall, messed my shoulder up. So then I decide, okay, I'm going to a Eustis Friday to meet the crew, have a little fun. So I jump in my truck. I go to gas up at Irving. So I put the pump in, and I go in the store, and I pick up some beef jerky and one of those big sodas for the ride, Diet Dr. Pepper, if you have to know. And so I'm munching jerky. I open the jerky right away. I eat my first piece, headed out of the truck. I get my soda. I'm happy. I get in the truck, and I pull out about 15 feet, and I thought, oh, geez, I've got to take that nozzle out of the filler cap. So I look in my rear view, and sure enough, the door is open, and I think, is the hose that long? No, the hose is not that long. The hose came out of my filler hole and apparently pulled out of the pump at about the same time and is laying there on the ground. So I go in, I tell the very not so friendly, and I don't blame her, clerk that I pulled the hose out of the pump. So I have to fill out paperwork, blah, blah, blah. I said, will I be charged for this? No, we just need the information. I felt dumb. Well, of course. Who wouldn't? It was dumb. So I get that taken care of. I get up to Eustis, and we're walking around looking at the campsites. Evan's got a flashlight. It's at night. We walk around looking at the brightly lit campsites and the people cavorting there in their sites, and, just kind of a nice little walk around the park. And Evan says, bike. And they aren't supposed to be riding a bike at Cathedral Pines after dark, but they do. So I step out of the way, off the side of the road, off the pavement, and it drops down about 6 inches. I drop down about 5 feet and do a face plant, knee plant, and elbow plant into the dirt. And I'm bleeding. And my grandson goes, no, you okay? Pee-pee. That's what he calls me, pee-pee. So I go in, I get bandaged all up, and I guess it's all good. Then yesterday morning, as we're packing to leave, I set my full coffee cup down on what I think is the table, but half of it is the clear glass oven door, a little toaster oven door that's open. So I set it half on that, and of course the other half is air. And so that tips over and makes a mess. And then this morning, I almost lose it again on the slippery steps, not because I miscounted, but because the steps are slippery and I'm in my socks, and I'm too dumb to realize slippers would probably be a good idea on these new steps. And I wouldn't, if I hadn't caught, and I had a cup of coffee in one hand, if I hadn't caught myself, I wouldn't be talking to you today, because that was at the top of a 7-stair flight. And that would have sucked. So lesson learned, I don't know. I'm a little hard to teach sometimes. So there's my weekend, but we had fun. We had a great time. Took Evan out to the pit out in Eustis with his little 22, and he blew tannerite up for the first time. That's a binary explosive, and they make it for 22 rifles, and he was great. He did it twice. He had a ball. And that made my weekend. I could be in traction this morning, and it would still be a good memory because it was good for Evan. Although it would have probably ruined his weekend had I done a face plant and then not gotten up right away. So there it is. There's a typical day, typical couple days in my life. Dottie, I took my brother out when we lived together. Oh no, you didn't pledge the stairs. Somebody suggested that to my wife. You ought to pledge the stairs. What? I swear, this morning, these stairs were more slippery than the other ones. So maybe somebody did put a sheen on them. I don't know. Roll call underway for the nomination of Donald Trump. Thank you, Chip. Yeah, the RNC starts today. Let's see. Oh, what's amazing, Ken says, what's amazing is they have a safety device to prevent gasoline from pouring out all over the place. Lucky for you, it didn't damage the filter neck on the truck. Yeah, the filler neck. Yeah, no kidding. No, that's right. Absolutely correct. Do I need combat gear to listen to this show now? So sorry about all that. But if it weren't for bad luck, buddy, yeah, no kidding. You got that right. You have got that right. And yeah, no gas spilled out. They have these new systems, at least the ones at Irving. I know they're not all like this, some of the old-fashioned ones. But these, they're like breakaway, and they stop the flow of gas. The gas wasn't flowing. The pump had stopped, and the truck was full. But it pulled it out, and obviously it's made the breakaway is so that it doesn't take a whole lot of pressure to pull it out, thankfully, or my truck probably would have been damaged. But I'm a klutz. I wear the badge proudly and with a great deal of humility. And I don't mind sharing with you. I don't mind sharing my misfortune with you because, we all do stuff like that. I just happen to do a little bit more than the average person, I think. 11:11 right now on Legacy 1160 WSKW. A lot of stuff to get to this hour. There was a Never Trumper on AM Joy yesterday. No longer hosted by Joy Reid because she does the readout on MSNBC. So there was a fill-in host on, and his name's Jonathan Capehart, and he assembled a nice big panel of Never Trumpers to discuss the future of the party, because that's what they do. If they're Republicans, they're Never Trumpers. If they're not Never Trumpers, then they're Democrats, because they don't have pro-Trump people on there most usually. So anyway, it's hard to tell whether Nichols, one of the guests, was referring to the party or to Trump specifically when he made this death wish comment yesterday that took even the host, Jonathan Capehart, by surprise. Listen.
We're either current or former Republicans. We all have a sentimental attachment to the Republican Party. We all loved Old Yeller, but at some point you have to take Old Yeller behind the barn and put him down.
Wow, that's an analogy.
Okay. When you freak out an MSNBC host, you've said something that is a little beyond the pale. So was he referring to the Republican Party as Old Yeller or Donald Trump, who we all know, and this is an alert. Spoiler alert. Old Yeller gets shot at the end of the movie. So that was quite a stretch for somebody on national TV. And although it took Jonathan Capehart by surprise, he still got a chuckle out of it. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? This is the same party that tweeted wrong Trump. That's how inclusive and tolerant they are. They hashtag started trending in the progressive circles, wrong Trump, when the president's brother passed away. Wow. They have no shame. None at all. Oh, by the way, you probably heard Kellyanne Conway's leaving. She's been there since the beginning. Going to spend more time with her family. Now, George Conway, as we know, another never Trumper. He's a Republican, I guess, still a Republican. But boy, does he hate Donald Trump. And he has been very, very loud about it ever since Trump took office. All the while, Kellyanne Conway is out there rooting for Trump and praising Trump and everything Trump has done for the last 3.5 years. George Conway has been taking the opposite tack and demeaning Donald Trump every step of the way. So you think there might be some reparations there in the Conway family needed? You know, I wouldn't want to be a fly on the wall in that house. I really wouldn't. You know, I'm like anybody else. You know, I'm sort of voyeuristic when it comes to hearing what's going on behind the scenes. But I don't think I even want to see what's happening in that household. Of course, they have kids too, and be interesting to see what happens now. I certainly wish Kellyanne Conway all the best. She has actually been great. She's actually been a great spokesperson for Donald Trump. Now, CNN. Now, going over to CNN, there's no shortage of media hate here when it comes to all things conservative, all things Trump. And there's no shortage of love and adoration when it comes to all things left, regardless of, you know, how violent these things are or are perceived to be. As part of their celebration of the 100th anniversary of the ratification of the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote, the network's been highlighting what it calls the past, the present, and the future of women's rights in the U.S. and around the world. Other parts of the world, women don't have a lot of rights. We know that. All people have more rights in this country than any other country in the world. But it's all being taken for granted. So, on Saturday, CNN newsroom host Brianna Goldriga honored the self-processed Marxists and co-founders of Black Lives Matter. She honored them. Goldriga, I don't know how to say her name. Goldriga introduced a clip of BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors by hiding their radically political beliefs. Listen to this. This is Saturday. This is part of their celebration.
First, in today's Represented, we mark the 100th anniversary of women getting the right to vote, with stories of modern women willing to get into good trouble. Meet a co-founder of the Black Lives Matter movement who turned a hashtag into a global rallying cry against racism and police brutality.
When we started Black Lives Matter, Alicia Opal and I, we really started it in response to the killing of Trayvon Martin and then the acquittal of George Zimmerman. We were disturbed, we were dissatisfied, we were angry, we were wanting more for Black people in general. Alicia Garza wrote a love note to Black folk. I responded with a hashtag Black Lives Matter on Facebook. And then within the next 48 hours, we were creating this online community. Michael Brown's murder, I think, would make Black Lives Matter go viral the first time. There has been a long history of Black people rising up against our death, our tragedies. With George Floyd's death, people witnessed him die in front of their eyes. People across the globe have shown up to not just talk about police violence, but the racist monuments that have been taken down.
Racist monuments have been taken down. Racist in your eyes doesn't mean it's not history in others' eyes, but it doesn't matter to you. It doesn't matter to them, the violence that has surrounded all of these killings. First of all, let's be honest here. She said Michael Brown was murdered. You remember, hands up, don't shoot. You remember the football players, the LA Rams, coming out of the locker room with their hands up? Michael Brown was not murdered. There is nothing that corroborates that. There is no clear evidence that Trayvon Martin was murdered for no good reason. Now they're looking into whether or not fentanyl killed George Floyd. Have you heard this? Have you seen the video? They have stopped a video at a place where George Floyd, now stick with me here for a minute. Don't think I'm okaying what the cop did. I'm not. But in a still of the video, George Floyd is seen to have something in his mouth, which they surmise, defense attorneys are arguing, this is 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which he swallowed. There was fentanyl in his system, and it was ruled he died of a heart attack. Now, does that take the cop off the hook? No. But it begs the question, did George Floyd die from the knee on the neck, which was too brutal? Agreed. Either way, it was way too brutal. It was out of context for a guy who was already on the ground, already handcuffed, who had resisted arrest up till that point, granted. And you can watch the body cam video and see that. But you can also see the still footage of this white, looks like a pill in his mouth. So none of these killings really, nobody waited before all hell broke loose. There's never a wait to let things play out. And I said that from the very beginning of this Derek Chauvin thing. Let's wait and see what plays out. Now, it doesn't change the fact, I agree, that the cop in Minneapolis was far too brutal. But did George Floyd die of that, or did he die of a fentanyl overdose, which precipitated a heart attack? Well, we don't know. We may never know. We may never know. But it's knee-jerk reactions. There is no time for justice. No time for, and they're still saying that Michael Brown was murdered by Darren Wilson, the cop in Baltimore. Was that the one in Baltimore? I think it was. I'm telling you, I get these names and the locations, I get them all mixed up. Forgive me if I'm incorrect on that, but I'm correct on the names, and I'm very correct on the outcomes. Darren Wilson was not charged with murder. George Zimmerman was not charged with murder. Derek Chauvin may be charged with murder. That's still, the case is still going on. but the violence has already erupted and, by the way, is still erupting all across the country. We are sort of shrouded from it here in Maine. But these things have a tendency to spread. It's not getting any better in a lot of these cities. Now, back in June, Patrisse Cullors told Jake Tapper on CNN. Patrisse Cullors is the woman you just heard. They celebrated her. She's one of the Marxist founders of BLM. Back in June, Patrisse Cullors told Jake Tapper what their goal was. What their goal was. Do you know what that was? Do you remember what that was? Probably not. Why would you? It's to make sure that Trump is no longer in office. So could that be what all of this uproar, all of this unrest, all of this racial tension, could that be what it's all about in concert with mainstream media and leftist politicians? Could that be what it's all about? Don't discount that. They say he's undermining the Constitution. Donald Trump is undermining the Constitution. Remember, everything they say their opponents do, they are the ones guilty of. Here is Patrisse Cullors in June with Jake Tapper on CNN. Listen.
Heard a lot of criticism of former Vice President Joe Biden from civil rights activists. The election obviously will be a choice. How do you think Biden matches up compared to President?
Hands down, Trump not only needs to not be in office in November, but he should resign now. Trump needs to be out of office. He is not fit for office. And so what we are going to push for is a move to get Trump out, while we're also going to continue to push and pressure Vice President Joe Biden around his policies and relationship to policing and criminalization. That's going to be important. But our goal is to get Trump out.
All right. There you go. Black Lives Matter founder Patrisse Cullors. Right there. Our goal is to get Trump out. He should resign right now. I don't think there's much of a question that what this is all about. All of this unrest, all of the deaths, all of the mayhem, all of the burning, all of the shoplifting and looting, destroying of property, police precincts, injuring and killing of police, and innocent people, black and white, being maimed and killed. And you just heard Patrisse Cullors. We've got to get Trump out. That's the goal, to get Trump out. This is in their minds, in their sick, twisted minds, a means to an end. Do you agree? We know what the playbook says. Did you hear the audio of the racists marching in Seattle? Now, unlike a lot of the Black Lives Matter protests, this was mostly blacks. There were some whites here, too. They were very unruly, and they converged, as they promised they would, on residential neighborhoods. And this particular residential neighborhood, they converged on. They stood outside with bullhorns, yelling at people inside their homes to give up their residences to people of color. And the video's gone viral, according to The Blaze. According to Twitter user Kitty Shackelford, the group, which was made up of about 50 demonstrators, marched down the streets of the neighborhood, chanting, "Black people used to live here." One man can be heard yelling, "Hey guys, do you know that you are living in a historically black neighborhood right now? Do you know that before your white ass came here, this was all black people? Do you know that people like you came in here and basically bought all the land from the black people, less than what it was worth, kicked them out so you could live here. Do you know that? Because if you don't, now you effing do. So do something about it. They're people just trying to, the homes they bought, they're just, or rent, they just trying to live their lives. They aren't out looking for trouble. Most of the people who are victims of all this are not people participating in the protests. They are people wanting to live as free Americans, and they have, most of them, not a racist bone in their body. That may be changing, though. That may be changing. In trying to do away with racism, they are amplifying it and pouring gas on a fire. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. And we're seeing what the end results are. We're seeing it play out all over America. Here's some of the unhinged bullhorn screaming. The residents in these towns were frightened. They were afraid for their lives. And why wouldn't they be?
Whichever one it is, give up your house, give black people back their homes. You're sitting there comfortable as fuck, and then you're going to help gentrify this neighborhood. I used to live in this neighborhood. But I used to live in this neighborhood. I grew up here and my family was pushed out. And you're sitting up there having a good with your other white friends.
Hey, you work for Amazon, don't you? You work for Amazon, don't you?
You work for Amazon, don't you? I don't know what that has to do with anything. These people, they're just living their lives. They aren't stoking anything. They're sitting in their homes, scared to death. Give us your home. Wow. So much for civil discourse, huh? Here's another guy demanding that everything you've got and then some is ours. We didn't have the stuff, whatever that means. Listen to this.
50 million miles and give you guys an inch. No, we're not taking that no more. Right. We want it all. We want everything that we supposed to have, period. And then some, too. Right. Because everything we supposed to have ain't enough. Hello. It damn sure ain't enough. Not for all the years that we didn't have the stuff. It damn sure ain't enough. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? So, like, they're serious, man. Like,
no, we don't see what you're saying. You sound like you're about 17 or 18 years old. And if you want stuff, put down the bullhorn and get a job, maybe. I don't know, is that too cruel? Am I being inhumane, or am I being rational? Really? Give us back all your stuff and then some that we haven't had for all these years. I don't know what to say. I mean, you cannot deal with that mentality. You can't talk. You can't reason. You can't. You just cannot. I don't know what the answer is. It would help if leaders of these communities like Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, would go out and say, okay, hold on here just a minute. And these are the people, these are men of God, men of the cloth, supposedly, you would think would be first in line to try to ease the tension, to say everything's going to be okay, let's just take a deep breath and talk. But instead, you've got Al Sharpton on his show on MSNBC every Saturday night, stoking it up, putting more kindling in, squirting a little of the charcoal lighter on the fire. I don't know how I just don't understand. And the left will tell you, well, it's pent-up rage. No, it's not. It's manufactured rage. Because these people who are out demanding you give up your house and your property have no idea. They have no clue. Especially if they've been spending their adult lives, however young they are, doing stuff like this. This isn't exactly a job skill. This isn't exactly something employers look for. This isn't a way to end what racism there is. It's a great way to increase racism and increase unrest. I don't hate anybody, but boy, oh boy, I question what do they think they're going to, what do they think? What is going through their minds? When they go to neighborhoods like this and demand that white people give up their neighborhoods because of stuff we haven't had over all these years, we want everything and more because we deserve it. Why? That sounds like entitlement to me. And why are you entitled? Well, our ancestors were slaves. Yeah, that's horrible. Absolutely horrible. If anybody were to get reparations, it should have been them and it should have been then. And it should have been retroactive. But you, who didn't live through that era, who have actually probably had it very, very good compared to them because you live in America, you are now demanding that you be given stuff you didn't earn. And people will, I'm sure the hate will come out for me for saying this. But it's the truth. And you aren't allowed to say the truth anymore, it seems. More and more the truth, which used to set you free, which should keep you free, just begets more violence, more hatred. Unless everybody bends over backwards for the mob's going to keep coming and coming and coming. And you heard the Black Lives Matter founder say that the goal is to get Trump out of office. I don't think any more needs to be said or heard. So, let's talk about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. World News Tonight anchor David Muir had Biden and Harris on. And they were talking about a whole bunch of different issues. And you would expect David Muir to ask softball questions, but he started out asking some pretty hard-hitting questions, but there was no pushback. So it doesn't matter how hard the question is. You know, a politician is always going to have a slick comeback. Now, talent in journalism comes from somebody who will hear a slick comeback and say, wait a minute, now that's not exactly right. Why don't you expound on that? Here's another question. And that's what they always do with Republicans, by the way. That's what Chuck Todd over on Meet the Press always does with Republicans. He actually practices journalism with Republicans. And it wouldn't be so maddening if he did the same thing with Democrats, but they don't. They don't. They give a complete pass to their progressive buds because that's who they're working for. So David Muir let the duo put their spin on things and didn't even call him back, even though they lied during the exchanges. No pushback, no fact checking. Listen.
The president and his campaign have said Kamala Harris was rated the most liberal U.S. senator in 2019, that she completes the radical leftist takeover of Joe Biden. I know you laugh, but you were to the left of Joe Biden on some major issues going into the primary, Medicare for all, eliminating private insurance, the Green New Deal. So have you moved closer to Joe Biden, or has he moved closer to you?
Joe Biden and I are completely aligned on the goal. Making sure everyone has health care, and it's not a function of how much money they have in their back pocket. He and I have personal experiences with people we love deeply who have gone through the healthcare system and who ultimately passed away. You look at what we need to do in terms of the climate crisis. Joe's speech last night said it all. We're facing 4 crises right now in America, and one of them is the climate crisis.
And I ask you this because you have pressure from the left, you have pressure from the center, you're trying to appeal to Republicans. And so on sort of the evolution on the issues, when you talk about healthcare that you see eye to eye, do you see a day when private insurance would go away as you once proposed?
No, and in fact, that my plan when I was running was that we would not eliminate private insurance.
A lot of pushback there from David Muir, huh? But wait, we would not eliminate private insurance. Let's go back not that long ago when she sat down with CNN's Jake Tapper.
For people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it?
Well, listen, the idea is that everyone gets access to medical care, and you don't have to go through the process of going through an insurance company, having them give you approval, going through the paperwork, all of the delay that may require. Who of us has not had that situation where you got to wait for approval and the doctor says, well, I don't know if your insurance company is going to cover this? Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on.
Well, there it is. Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on. David Muir just asked questions. I don't care how hard they were. If you're not going to push back, if you don't have anything to dig deeper and make them sweat a little bit, you are not a journalist. You are not fit for national television. David Muir, pretty boy. And while they love to blame Donald Trump for not doing anything, while he does a lot, even as they investigate him with witch hunt after witch hunt, they hyper-focus on things that are not clear and present threats, except in the eyes of the worshipers of climate change.
Joe's speech last night said it all. We're facing 4 crises right now in America, and one of them is the climate crisis.
So that's going to be one of the, we have undeniably, we have racial tension being amped up every single day. What they want you to believe is that if Joe Biden is elected the day after the election, it's all going to go away. You know why? Because that's when your Al Sharptons and your Jesse Jacksons will come out free of Donald Trump, and they'll say, wait a minute, now let's bring it down a few notches. But until then, the end is getting rid of Donald Trump. The means is whatever it takes, even if it means propaganda media stoking the racial tension. Thing is, while they think a Joe Biden election will make it all go away, I think we're too far into it now for that, to be honest with you. I think too much has happened since the death of George Floyd between then and now. I think a lot of people who didn't want anything to do with any of this have been brought into it. Like marching in these neighborhoods, like destroying businesses, like murdering people, like defunding police organizations. I think they've built a resentment in this country now and built factions as opposed to communities, which is their goal, to get rid of Donald Trump. But they're going to find, because they aren't that bright, they have no foresight. Remember that. No foresight. All they see is the here and now. Right now, we've got to get rid of Donald Trump. We'll worry about the rest of the stuff afterwards. Well, there's going to be a lot to worry about. Because what they have built with their hatred and their corruption is here to stay for a long, long time, I'm afraid. And you've got the mainstream media largely to thank for a lot of it. 11:44 right now. This is your Pep Rally for Freedom. I'm John James. And I had a pretty good-sized segment about guns. We aren't going to get on that today. We don't have time. But we certainly will tomorrow. An example of gun saving lives. Utah gun group silenced by Facebook. And gun control is suddenly a big part of, well, not suddenly, I mean, it has been, but it is now becoming a bigger part of the Democratic platform. Gun control. We don't want your guns, they say. We love the Second Amendment, they say. And I'm not painting all Democrats with that broad brush. I'm not, because there are a lot of Democratic gun owners, Second Amendment believers, who I don't think align with much of what this campaign is calling for. A lot of the moderates, a lot of the old-fashioned Democrats. They don't like it either. But they are part of the problem by proxy because their party has left them. Yet they stay with the party. They stay with the sinking ship. And that's their choice. That's their right. But we'll talk about all that tomorrow on your Pep Rally for Freedom. Right now, let's move on to an Iowa professor who is having now to relearn her university's speech policies. Now, before I give you this troubling story, I want to preface it with a glossary. This Iowa College professor uses terms, leftist progressive terms, and they're all over the place nowadays. And you need to know what she's referring to. So, while I'm talking about this, you need to know what the altruistic woke culture has in their own private vocabulary. You and I have to struggle in order to know what they're saying. It changes all the time, but I have actually gone out of the way and I looked these things up. Othering is the first one. Othering. Do you know what othering is? This is, as far as I know, these are all fairly new terms. At least a couple of them are. Othering, O-T-H-E-R-I-N-G. Othering, according to Wiktionary, is the process of perceiving or portraying someone or something as essentially alien or different. That's othering. Sorophobia, S-O-R-O phobia, sorophobia. According to a Granite Grok article, sorophobia relates to the discrimination of people with AIDS or HIV. Now, maybe you knew these things. Maybe I'm just a dummy. I'll take that. And ableism. Ableism is a discrimination in favor of able-bodied people. So there you go. Can you remember those definitions? Let's get to it now. An Iowa State University professor was forced to relearn the school's free speech policies after her course syllabus initially warned students that arguments made against topics such as abortion and the Black Lives Matter movement would be grounds for dismissal from the class at this university they're paying for. Her name is Chloe Clark. She had informed her English 250 class that any arguments that contributed to othering would not be tolerated in class discussions or in assignments. Would not be tolerated. Even though it's free speech, and even though this is the tolerant left, free speech will not be tolerated if I deem it hurtful. Giant warning, stated Ms. Clark's original syllabus obtained by Campus Reform. Any instances of othering that you participate in intentionally, racism, sexism, ableism, homophobia, sorophobia, transphobia, classism, mocking of mental health issues, body shaming, etc., in class are grounds for dismissal from the classroom. The same goes for any papers, projects, she continued. You cannot choose any topic that takes its base that one side doesn't deserve the same basic human rights as you do. For example, no arguments against gay marriage, abortion, Black Lives Matter, etc. I take this seriously, she said. The university issued a statement Monday saying the syllabus had been reviewed and corrected for violating the school's free speech policy. But this is just a symptom. This is just a symptom. This is academia. One person being called out, maybe it'll start a domino effect. The syllabus statement, as written, was inconsistent with the university's standards and its commitment to the First Amendment rights of students. Angie Hunt, a university spokesman, told Campus Reform. She went on, after reviewing the issues with a faculty member, the syllabus has been corrected to ensure it is consistent with university policy. Moreover, the faculty member is being provided additional information regarding the First Amendment policies of the university. Do you think that is going to change Chloe Clark's outlook? No. Of course it's not, because she is triggered by people that don't agree with her. And free speech is not welcome, even though it's the students and their families who are paying $50,000 or more a year to come hear your horrible professorial, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if you call it a speech, sermon, a lecture. Can't take an opposite tack if it offends the professor. Got to remind people who is paying for the education here. It's not even like an American university. If you allow professors to do this, thankfully she's been called out. Will they stick to their guns? We'll have to wait and see. Iowa State is firmly committed to protecting the First Amendment rights of students, faculty, and staff, Angie Hunt said. With respect to student expression in the classroom, including the completion of assignments, the university does not take disciplinary action against students based on the content or viewpoints expressed in their speech. And that is the position all leaders at all universities should take in America. The Young America's Foundation, which was the first to share screenshots of the syllabus on social media, said it was happy with the university's reversal. How un-American is that? Do these people even, do they have any clue what the country they teach in and are making money in stands for? Do they have any clue? Do they care? I think they just don't care. I don't think they're necessarily dumb people. I think they are resolute in their beliefs and very socialistic and dictatorial in the way they administer their profession. It's not her right. Good for Iowa University. And one more thing here. See if I can find it. Stephanie Ruhle. She's a piece of work. MSNBC and Stephanie Ruhle. She's on the Today Show. She's the financial advisor. She puts on a pretty face and that fake smile. And she's pretty smart when it comes to financial stuff. But she's quite left when it comes to her MSNBC position. It can be tough for liberal journalists to accept when their biased reporting appears not to be helping their candidate. You know, MSNBC works hard, day and night. Ali Velshi, Stephanie Ruhle, they're a pair. You got Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski. You've got Rachel Maddow. You've got all these people trying so hard to get Trump out of office, and they don't like it when they're reporting, when their leftist propaganda reporting isn't working. Stephanie Ruhle of Velshi and Ruhle seemed really pissed off last week, discussing the new NBC poll with Atlanta, and she was talking with Atlanta's Democratic Mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms. She was originally one of the contestants for the vice presidential nomination for Joe Biden. So she's got Keisha Lance Bottoms on, and she was dismayed that a poll found Donald Trump was beating Joe Biden on two major issues, crime and the economy. And we've been trying so hard to get Trump to come down in all polls. She was very frustrated and whining. Listen to Stephanie Ruhle. Do we even have that? Is that okay? You give me a second. I'll get it. That's going to be the last thing. I've got to take a break here. We've misplaced the audio. I'll be right back.
Legacy 1160, WSKW.
My name is Chris Blackburn. I live in New Gloucester.
I'm Penny. I live in Scarborough.
My name is Carl Parker.
My name is Carla Gill. I'm from Portland, Maine. I have voted for Susan Collins multiple times, and I cannot vote for Susan Collins any longer.
I believe that Susan Collins has changed dramatically.
I have supported Susan Collins, and I will not be supporting her again. I do not believe Susan Collins is willing to stand up to Donald Trump. Not at all.
Since Donald Trump has become president, it's amazing how often she has taken his side.
I know that Sarah Gideon has long had a reputation for being a consensus builder and working across the aisle to get real legislation done.
I'm supporting Sarah Gideon because I truly believe that Sarah Gideon will fight for Maine.
I believe that Sarah Gideon would stand up to Mitch McConnell.
I have such hope for Sarah. I think she's clearly in touch with Maine, and that's what I'm hoping she can bring to Washington. I will be supporting Sarah Gideon.
I'm Sarah Gideon, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message. Paid for by Sarah Gideon for Maine.
Feeling cooped up? Tired of looking at the same old stuff day after day? Now that we can finally get out and do a little shopping, why not head over to Townline Antiques? At Townline Antiques, there's 2 floors, 50 dealers, and thousands of items from throughout history. They've got vintage signs, furniture, classic electronics, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, home decor, and a lot more. Get away from it all with a look to the past. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday, 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
I'm Hunter, and I am Sam.
The Sportsman's Alliance of Maine is a champion of our rights to fully enjoy Maine as we like. Support the preservation of our proud outdoor heritage by becoming a member at sportsmansallianceofmaine.org today.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust, and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first. Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Lexi O'Connor. Partly to mostly sunny this morning with the chance for an afternoon and evening shower or thunderstorm. It will be humid with highs in the low 80s at the coast, mid to upper 80s inland. More widespread showers and storms move through tomorrow afternoon. Some may become severe, staying warm and humid with highs in the 80s, mostly sunny, back to the 70s Wednesday through Friday.
All right, welcome back. We're going to wrap things up right now. I did find the audio I wanted to play for you. Stephanie Ruhle of Velci and Ruhle on MSNBC. So here's the dealio. Stephanie Ruhle she's a propaganda host. All right. She and Ali Velci, who is not even an American, I don't think. I think he's a Kenyan-born Canadian. And I don't know, but he's on preaching how we should run our country on MSNBC with Stephanie Ruhle. Now, Stephanie Ruhle doesn't like the fact that Donald Trump is doing well in the polls in regards to the economy and law enforcement when she and her cohorts are trying so hard to bring him down. So she's on with Keisha Lance Bottoms, the Atlanta mayor, last week. And she just about I thought she was going to start crying. She was so upset.
That I can't speak to because I'm not quite sure how anyone thinks that this is sustainable. What's most concerning to me, even as I look at where we are with the Postal Service and I watched.
Okay, hold on just a second. That didn't go back nearly enough. Go back to the beginning here. Okay, here is the whole clip with Stephanie Ruhle and Keisha Lance Bottoms.
And while Joe Biden is improving in the national polls, what's amazing is we've got 30 million people unemployed, yet the president does better on the economy. We've got in most major cities crime on the rise, yet the president doing better on crime. What is the most important message you want to get across to voters right now?
What's most important, Stephanie, is that people remember what happened in 2016. And so many of the polls, Hillary Clinton was leading going into the election. And then we saw what happened. And so it is so important that we not take anything for granted.
Then given the chaos and the debacle that you're referencing, why on earth does this president poll well when it comes to the economy and crime?
She can't believe it.
We are in a crisis.
It's concerning to me, and that I can't speak to because I'm not quite sure how anyone thinks that this is sustainable. What's most concerning to me, even as I look at where we are with the Postal Service and I watched your last segment, what's happening with Donald Trump is that he's normalizing authoritarian behavior. This man is attempting to interfere very openly with the election in November.
Authoritarian behavior, says the woman who wants to defund her own police in Atlanta. And Stephanie, I can't understand how he's doing so good in the polls. The economy and law enforcement, the rule of law being thrown under the bus, neither are Donald Trump's fault. He wants to bolster the law enforcement by sending National Guard troops in. The left demonizes him for it. He wants to open America back up. The left demonizes him for it. Stephanie Ruhle, you're a joke. I'm sorry. I can't wrap my mind around how people can be this stupid and have such a voice. I guess I'm a little jealous of it, to be honest with you. I need more money. That's what I need. Need more money and more viewership, listenership. Spread the word. Pep Rally for Freedom. See you tomorrow morning at 9. Mike Violet's here at 6. Have a great day.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta,